But I got some quotes that I want to read to you guys today. And like I said, I got some lambasting to do on one Dabo Swinney, who I think is going to be going down historically in his football, what do you call it, when you die and they write that thing in the newspaper? Obituary. His football obituary will lead with his hard-headedness. It will not lead with his national titles. It will not lead with the quarterback selections of of Trevor Lawrence and Deshaun Watson. It will lead with his stubbornness if stuff like this continues. Let me read you these quotes. Quote, "We matched up well. It didn't go our way, but we're physical. We could run. We've got a good team. We've got a bunch of good young talent. It's going to come together, and it's going to be fun to watch." He would continue to double down. "We've done it in a unique way," Swinney said. "Now people want me to do it another way or some other way. They've lost their freaking mind. I'm not doing it another way. Everything doesn't go the way you want it every single time, but that doesn't mean you get away from what your foundation is, what you believe in." I've got several things here, boys, that I want to address. Number one, no, you didn't. No, you didn't match up well. Everyone that watched that football game knew there was a talent discrepancy. So first and foremost, no, you did not. For you to sit there and tell your fan base that you matched up well and that it was all about execution is virtually a lie, because we all, to a man, know you did not match up well. You were very much so outmatched in that football game. There was an obvious talent discrepancy. This next quote, "We've done it in a unique way." What exactly have you done uniquely? You won national titles in the old form of college football. Since the new form of college football, your unique way of avoiding the transfer portal is the number one reason people are giving you shit. So your unique way, what have you done? You have not done anything in terms of successful. All right, you've beaten some of the ACC teams that you can still out-talent. But what have you done uniquely? Nothing. You selected Deshaun Watson, you got Trevor Lawrence, historic defenses, and you did a great job in the old form. By the way, getting great quarterback play and winning on the line of scrimmage ain't all that unique. All right? Your style of recruiting, your style of roster management now is unique. And it's what people are pointing at your biggest flaw. What have you done uniquely? Nothing. My other thing, all right? He has yet, in 2 years of getting shit about not doing this, not conforming to modern strategies, not being an NIL-based recruiting strategy, not being a transfer portal team, not doing the things that people are asking you to do and conforming with the times, all right? He's done all of this, and throughout 2 years of listening to this individual, I have yet to hear him identify a single area where they can get better, where they are losing these football games. I watched all 14 minutes of that post-game press conference after the Georgia loss, 31-point loss. All he's got to talk about is execution. We got to execute. Oh, we had a bullcrap call on a illegal formation. Excuse. Blame it on execution. We got to get better. We got to do better. What do you have to do better? What? You have yet to identify anything in this strategy that you personally have done wrong, other than, like I said, the last 2 years talking about coming up short in the area of the execution department. You know what that sounds like to me every single time you do that as a football coach? It sounds like to me you're blaming your players instead of blaming the strategies that you've chosen that put in your program where they are currently at. I do not like that at all. Number 4, I saved this one, best for last. We could run. You see how you snuck that one in there? We could run. You know what you just confirmed to me, Dabo Swinney, by telling the world that you thought your team speed wasn't a problem by saying, hey, I thought we could run. We could run. That confirms to me you're doing what people think you're not doing, which is reading what other people think about your football team. The whole internet talked about how damn slow your football team was during that football game. And you saying that, I thought we could run. You exposed yourself. You exposed yourself for reading your own negative press clippings, which means we are all Tyler from Spartanburg. We're all under your skin, Dabo. That's not good, bud. The best thing you can do right now, is get off your 10 toes. Stop being 10 toes down and maybe conform to some times a little bit, because you haven't done anything uniquely.
Dabo does his press conferences the way that, in a sense of how the players should be doing it, of like what Cade Klubnik did. Cade Klubnik came out and he talked during his press conference and he said, I thought Garrett Riley had a great game plan for what we wanted to do against Georgia. I thought that what he called and what he expected of us and what he wanted us to execute against Georgia was a great game plan, that we just didn't do the right things. We did not execute that. That's what a player should say. It's kind of what Dabo's saying, like, we just got to execute. Dabo, on the other hand, you need to be more critical of yourself. Like you're saying, at least just give us some coach speak. It was
8 minutes in. 8 minutes in, at the end of a question about Garrett Riley, I heard it starts with me. And that was the last of that end of line of questioning. And he said, it starts with me to end the line of questioning. And then they went to the next question. I looked for it. Is there any, hey, I got to be better. I got to do this. No, there wasn't. It was a half-hearted, it's on me at the end of that.
Yeah, and I think that this is kind of what happens when you do get a little inundated with what people are saying about your program. You get very defensive as a person and as a man, because people are coming after you saying that you're not who you used to be, that your program's getting left behind and whatnot. And so you want to take this defensive approach to yourself. And he's focusing on all the wrong things, it seems like, continuously, time after time.
Yeah, it's unfortunate to see, just because there was a time when people said, hey, I think this guy's better than Nick Saban. Look what he did to their team in 2018. I mean, 25-point national championship victory. So it is kind of sad to see what has become of the Dabo Swinney era at Clemson, because it's nothing but frustrating now. I mean, you had so much hope for this program. You had the idea of, hey, this is the new Alabama once Nick Saban retires. But it's just seemed that he's been so stuck in his ways, and not just in the transfer portal. I know that's the one everyone hammers home, and that's kind of the idea as to why we're talking about this. But he's been stubborn in almost everything else he's done.
Yeah, the recruiting strategies have been questionable at best, especially here in the state of Georgia. And I've talked about that ad nauseum, especially in the lead up to this. He's taken a bunch of football players over the last 3 or 4 years, that teams that he's required and matched up and paired up against and measured up against the measuring stick of teams. He's taken football players that those teams don't necessarily want. And that's not ideal. And he's doing so because, like last year, to me, it goes back to that we had the highest roster score of all time at Clemson last year. He said that. This is the best team we've ever had based off our roster score. And what's the roster score about, Coach? Well, it's a lot of intangibles. It's a lot of leadership qualities. A lot of, are you a great kid? I want great kids too. I want great kids on my football team, but I need great football players first. All right, we need that first and foremost. And honestly, I've had these discussions with some people around the Clemson program of, we need dogs. We need somebody who's going to, set the tone and like really be a great. Y'all don't recruit that, dude. Y'all don't recruit that at all. Not a dog one. So there's a lot of things that need to change just outside of the portal. But it is very clear to me, based off these statements, I'm not going to, so quit asking. That's what it was. Mm-hmm. It was Nick Saban, I'm not going to, so quit asking. That quote of, people want me to change, I'm not going to. That's like, man, that's as hard-headed as it gets. That's last nail in the coffin type stuff. Unless regulation comes, which he's going to get saved in 18 months. Should be all right.
Will he, though?
No, I mean, he'll be saved from a competitive balance standpoint. I don't think, we saw what the Florida States of the world did, but you're not going to be able to go out and buy an elite roster anymore.
Not even that. You just talked about how their recruiting metrics obviously don't have dogs. It's not because they don't go after, it's not because they can't afford dogs. I'm sure if Clemson really wanted to pony up and get a 5-star absolute dog linebacker, defensive tackle, running back, you could go out and get one. It's their willingness not to do so because of these quote unquote metrics that they have within the system that I don't think he's going to change anytime soon. That's not going to depend on whether you can do revenue splits and you can't, poach rosters as much anymore. You can't dip in the transfer portal. I don't think Dabo Swinney ever recovers from this, even when regulation does come.
I mean, you fired and buried him last year, so I understand why you're standing on it. I would too.
Did I?
Makes sense. Yeah, I remember you kind of throwing some dirt on the grave last year early on.
Well, I mean, it's looking good, so.
It is.
Love being right, baby. Love being right. Didn't necessarily love the comments right there from Dabo because I don't think they were true. I think he was gaslighting his own fan base.